In June of this year, I went on holiday, and to do so, I had to go through the majestic and beautiful structure known as Gatwick Airport. This left me with the burning desire to build a fully fledged out airport in my Minecraft city, taking God knows how many hours to complete. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So I had to start off with the layout. I quickly put together a runway and a taxiway, and a place for the aeroplanes to park. Then I planned out the main building, which, spoiler alert, I did not stick to. The plan was to have two layers, one for people entering the airport with baggage drop-off and retail, and another for those exiting the airport with customs and baggage collection. Also, to make this clear, yes, the runway is way too short at just 500 meters. I did this because if I actually made it 2 kilometers long, which is the average, it would no joke span the entire city island, which is a tiny bit overkill. Then I started building the actual terminal, starting with the train station. I'm using a mod called Minecraft Transit Railway, and I already built an entire metro system using it. So I just had to make a small extension, which didn't take me too long. I knew that there had to be lifts and a good amount of capacity to handle the airport traffic, and I think it came out looking pretty good. I built a quick little entrance with a beautiful welcome sign to make you feel nice and welcome. I used banners to write pretty much everything, as signs in this game are genuinely terrible, like you can barely even see them. Then I continued on with the main building. I decided to switch up the block palette a little bit, as an entirely grey building would be depressing as hell, just like the creation of this video. I used a block palette of quartz and black glass to add some contrast. The inspiration for this build was Heathrow Terminal 5 in London, so I tried to use similar design features in the build. After this, I started building the interior, instead of finishing the exterior, as my goldfish brain can't seem to handle working on one thing for more than an hour. On the inside, I built some seating, and here I used custom maps to create some Coke, no not that Coke, advertisements. It stopped my build from looking too bland, as my building skills are honestly very basic. I tried my hardest to remember how actual airports look, and just so you know, my memory is really bad, so yeah, most of this will look pretty inaccurate. I know the title was clickbait, live with it. I added these queue barriers, or whatever they're called, with glass, walls and carpet, and then built 2 sets of baggage drop-off places for national and international passports. I think it ended up looking pretty good if I'm being honest. Then it was time for the security, where I added a bin, baggage check and metal detectors, which didn't take too long. After this, it was time to build some retail. I built some mind-blowing shops like H&M, and the best of all, unnamed. I know, incredible, right? I also built this little place above it, which I detailed later. I put together some low effort and outdated food court with some tacky flooring and boring shops. And then I built some seating on that place that I built before. I'm going to skip over most of this section of this video, because I genuinely can't tell you how boring this build is getting at this point. Probably because I have the attention span of a toddler. You can really tell that I was getting bored at this point because my builds were starting to look bland and undetailed, which is something that I always try to avoid. Like, look at this, there's just plain white flooring with nothing to break it up. And don't even get me started on how the food court looks. But anyways, I've had enough of yapping, let's move on. After this, I had to build some gates to get to your airplane after bankrupting yourself at the duty-free. The plan was to have 10 gates, which I know is nowhere near the amount that a normal sized airport would have, but you have to take into consideration the fact that the city is only about 2 kilometers end to end, so a low amount of airport traffic would be quite reasonable. I used some escalators that are part of the mod I'm using, and created the gates below all of the security and retail space. The actual design of the gates was pretty simple. There was some seating and a desk, and that's pretty much it. I made 5 of these in the main building, and then I built another build to store a few more gates. These had jet bridges, but I realised later on that there was a really big problem with them, which you'll have to see later. Then I had to build up the customs and baggage collection. I built up those little things that the baggage is put onto, and I only built 3, as this is a pretty small airport. At this point, I yet again realised that I messed up by building the baggage collection before the customs, but I still went on, because honestly, after 50 hours of building, I could not be bothered to rebuild that entire place. I built up the customs, and to finish up this part of the build, I built a little exit. The end of the project was near. I could see light at the end of the tunnel. Then, for the final part of the build itself, I had to build a pretty big car park for all of those lazy subs who couldn't be bothered to save our environment and use the train. I built it in the bottom section of the building, and I built a 4-lane road that enters into it. It had 4 floors of glorious concrete, and with that, the building was done. But hold on, we're not finished yet, somehow. There was one thing left: aeroplanes. I built an Airbus A321, and yes, I'm aware that this is not that great of a build. I've never done this before, and you can probably tell. I pasted this a couple times, and then I realised something. This was the problem that I was hinting at before. The jet bridges were like 10 meters above the plane, so I had to make some awkward stairs, which quite literally defeats the whole purpose of a jet bridge. I might fix this later on, only if I get some decent performance on this video. But anyways, I've had enough yapping, let's do a cinematic. This video has been one hell of a journey to make, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.